personnel report, and the other is revision of the, or modification, I guess I should say, of the classified employee handbook relative to hiring on the personnel report. So go with those two items this evening.
Discussion? Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Do you have a second motion to approve the agenda as amended? All in favor of such motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Brings us to our next item on the agenda. First call for citizens' comments. This is on agenda items only. If you would like to chat, please stand, state your name and your subject matter. Going once? Going twice? Gone. Thank you. This brings us to our consent agenda. First item is the minutes of our regular board meeting and the addendum on August 19th and the public hearing and special school board meetings on September the 11th. Discussion? Hearing none. Chair will entertain a motion.
Make that motion. Second?
You have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the August 19th meeting and the September meeting. All in favor of such motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Brings us to finance. Mr. Chapman, item A.
Members of the board, you have in your packet this evening a recommendation to approve the submission of Form 3, and that's the notice to taxpayers for the 2020 budget calendar. We ask your approval of that calendar this evening.
So moved. Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the submission of Form 3 notice to the taxpayers. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of such motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, vouchers. 99835 through 100021. Discussion? Chair entertain a motion.
I'd move that approval of vouchers 99835 through 100021.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve vouchers as stated. All in favor of such motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Chapman, personnel.
Members of the board, the personnel report for September is provided in your packet this evening. There are quite a lengthy number of items that involve resignations and recommendations for various coaching, sponsor, and supervisory positions. However, I would like to highlight a few of those items at the following at this time regarding resignations under classified staff. Autumn Daniels, Ernie Pyle Elementary Health Assistant, effective September 10th, 2019. Tiffany Cutliff, resignation as a corporation registered nurse, effective September 13th, 2019. Keith Jacks, South Vermillion HVAC assistant, his resignation effective March 19th, 2020. Pam Reynolds, resignation as a transportation department bus driver, effective at the end of the 18-19 school year. And Rhonda Majors, her resignation as the director of the Alternative to Suspension and Advancement Program, effective December 20th, 2019. Also, as part of the addendum, I would like to recommend this evening Hannah Hoover as the corporation nurse. She is RN with the Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and have her effective on or about this Wednesday. Is that right, Hannah? Okay.
I'm hoping so.
Making sure there. And also Deborah Mazura, school nurse at South Vermillion Middle School. She is an LPN, effective on or about September 30th, 2019. We ask your approval of the personnel report this evening.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We We have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation, the personnel recommendations as given. All in favor of such motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would like to officially welcome Hannah
Welcome.
to our staff.
Thank you, I appreciate that,
Welcome.
thank you.
All right. Now we're in the presentation and reports. Item A, our curriculum director, Dr. Melanie Beaver. Come on down.
They've added some furniture.
What?
You added this furniture here, so.
Well, you complained last time.
Somebody stole it from me.
It says looking for TV airplay off, so it will come on. If not, then we proceed. Yeah. How about that? Take that direction. Oh, well.
The green light is on. What did you do? Where's our tech director?
Oh. Well, I'm sure it'll come up in a second. If not, the September Curriculum Matters newsletter is live on the website under the Curriculum tab, which is under Departments, which is under District. Looking at the first, you see a photo of an office of a South Vermillion mom. I captured this on Facebook and asked her if I could please share that she was bragging about what her son is doing in school. And so then, I can't control the size of the photo, so it's not like I meant for her office to be like the biggest thing on the newsletter. So she was bragging about what her son worked on while he was in Van Dyne and South Vermillion Middle School in art class, and I always feel like we don't celebrate the arts enough, and we probably underscore or just don't recognize the math and the English that do occur in these arts classes, and sometimes, to some effect, that in fact helps our students, especially our marginal students who don't feel successful in the math in the English classrooms, find success. So I was happy to see a picture of a student, and on the website it's in nice color. He was at home making a recipe that he learned in school, so instant real-life application of something that he did at the middle school in his family and consumer science class. And as well, featured there as well is the artwork that that a mom has framed and installed in her office. The child completed the artwork at Van Dyne and South Vermillion Middle. So I just think that's extra special, and we don't get to see that a lot, how they apply what they learn at school at home. So I thanked her. I spoke with her on the phone and asked her if I could use that, and she said yes, that's fine. She knows it's on the website. She had only one concern, and that was that he didn't have a shirt on while he was cooking, and I said, okay, there's no dress code in your house. So she said, oh, he'll be so sad. I was like, well, I'll cut a bunch of him out. So, and then she had that quote that cooking with kids is not just about ingredients, recipes, and cooking. It's about harnessing imagination, empowerment, and creativity. So that's pretty special. And then, so the art class and then family and consumer science, known as the FACS class. Both of those were captured from Facebook, and with permission, they're now part of our September news. Moving on to the picture you see at the bottom there, this is the graphic on the EL Education Language Arts Curriculum website. It kind of outlines the pathway for the K2 Language Arts Curriculum and then the 3-5 Language Arts Curriculum, where you can see the different categories. And our K2 teachers are spending 180 minutes a day with these literacy activities and lessons, and 3-5 are spending 120. So there's a pretty lengthy piece in here that you can read about the update on EL education, and there is disclosure and honesty. Teachers have some growing pains, and I have not sugarcoated that in here, and that is to be expected with something so drastically different in teaching procedure and instructional strategies. So to respond to that concern, I've set up what I've called curriculum checkups in the two of the three elementary so far, and I'm scheduled to spend the day at Central on Friday. And what I do then is I send out a booking memo to the teachers, and you can schedule a time spot with me at any time from 7:30 to 4, and I'll be in your school conference room. And we talk about a number of things, not just the new reading curriculum. We talk about formative assessment, your SLO, teacher effectiveness rubric. We talk about the Pearson math program. We talk about how you're using science, how you're addressing the science and social studies standards in math and in reading. And then Google Drive, and we talk about, all kinds of things. If it's about, and I was adding as we went, if it was, then they have great questions about e-learning day. And so I just wanted to give them an opportunity just to have my full attention, and I documented as they talked and shared that with, well, I haven't shared that with them yet. Did I email that to you, Jill? Okay, well, hey, I did something good. I followed up on that. So I just want them to know that, as busy as I am, my most important role is helping student achievement, and that starts with making sure the teachers have what they need. So I'm sorry, I'm doing a real good job distracting everyone with the tech problems. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, it's gonna have to be.
It's okay. Oh, I actually frayed some wires before the meeting so that it wouldn't have to be all about. Anyway. So then there's a tab in this EL article. It talks about the importance of backward planning, which is part of the Universal Design for Learning. Teachers are familiar with the UDL model, and within the UDL model is the UBD framework. I often say that teaching is the career of acronyms and initials. Because sometimes it's like SLO, and I was in a meeting today with the elementary principals, and they were like, so is that the TLO or the CLO? And they're like, no, where will that go in the SLO? And it was like, whoa, I meant that to rhyme. So, that if you're live on the site, you can click on that button that says 3 stages of backward design, and the goal there is, and that's just good teaching, most of our teachers are already obviously using that, and that's where you look at the results that you want. It's very important with the EL curriculum. That's where you look at the results you want, and then you use that information, the result at the end of the lesson, the unit, or the module, to define the performance tasks and assessments that will be along that pathway. And then after that, you design your instruction. If you design your instruction first, you're kind of just fumbling through. And sometimes that's how I teach, I teach. Sometimes that's what we start with when there's a lot of unknown. That's why it's really important with EL education to begin with the end in mind. And that's the backward design model. You can click on that to find the research there. Next, the September mentor meeting is happening this week in Ernie Pyle, in Miss Kayla Payton's classroom, Mrs. Kayla Payton's classroom. Each time, as you know, our mentees host in their classrooms. And Kayla is hosting at Ernie Pyle, and the topics of discussion on the table. Nothing's ever set in stone, because I appreciate that our mentor program coordinator, Cheryl Crockett, goes with the needs of our new teachers. So if she schedules to talk about scaffolding of instruction, and they want to talk about, hey, I'm a brand new teacher and I'm in month 2 and I'm already burned out. I've had a cold for 4 weeks and I'm overwhelmed and I'm not sleeping. That's the real life of a new teacher. That's the real life of a seasoned teacher too. So, but just to be receptive, and she's very, she's got her sensors out. She's got her spidey sense on high alert for that type of thing with our mentees, and our mentors are looking for that too, to watch the state of mind and the disposition of our new teachers. It's really important for drawing good teachers to South Vermillion and keeping them here. So then there's a tab where you can click on an article about how important the first year of teaching is and why you really need a mentor. The next section in the newsletter is about fall testing for formative assessment is complete through NWEA's math growth test in reading and math. And so then in teacher meetings and departments and grade level teams, teachers are beginning to look at that data set and identify how to then group students in the response to instruction model and how to cater instruction accordingly to where students are high, medium, and low in different skills. And it's really critical to note that that never stays static. So if someone is low in place value identification, they're just not low in math necessarily. So then if you move on to number sense, that child might have a strength right there. So these groups, it's a lot more work on the teacher, but our teachers do that. It's good teaching. So they keep adjusting and recalibrating their groups based on NWEA. Tomorrow I'm scheduled to attend a conference focused on NWEA that the principal said was really informative last year, and it's in Greenwood. Last week I told him I was going to Greenwood, and he was like, okay, and I called him on the way. I'm like, just in case, you didn't know, I'm not going to Greenwood, I'm going to Greencastle, I'm sorry.
This wasn't Greenfield.
He said, I actually knew the whole time you were going to Greencastle, and I was just, I need to figure it out. I'm sorry. So I will be in Greenwood. There's another tab, a helpful resource for parents, called Parents and Map Growth, 7 Things to Know. There exists a blog for parents on NWEA resources, and it's separate from like teacher logins where we go and get our resources for helping parents with this formative assessment. So that's a very helpful piece there, 7 important things, especially at the beginning of the year, and how are teachers using this test to help my child learn. Next, we just celebrated Digital Citizenship Week in South Vermillion schools, and obviously Maria Sellers was a key player in that. And she talked about things from internet safety to having a media balance, which we all could use, apparently even now, not using it. And especially how to cite properly when designing, and when she was saying this sentence to me, I was going to say when designing a research paper, when writing a report, she's like, no, when you design a web page. And I was like, whoa, next level. How to properly cite using Wikimedia Commons. She's like, not Wikipedia Beaver, it's a whole different level of caliber. I was like, what? So it's really important to teach our students who are 21st century learners to be responsible in the digisphere, and that's what Maria focused on for Digital Citizenship Week. And you see a few photos from her classroom during that time. And that's also, she tweets those, so if you follow what she's doing with Gain on Twitter, you see that as well. Closure. Any questions?
Circling back to the EL,
Yeah.
a lot of parents, I'm sure you have too, expressing concern on their students' performance, and like when midterm grades came out, there was a lot of students who typically have all A's are struggling, so.
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell me what we're doing on
Yeah,
that?
so I did want to make sure I gave that its due credit, because that's probably the most important thing, is informing all the stakeholders, the community, you, parents, and so that so they understand how change affects what I've always known. I was talking with the teachers last week when I was in the one-to-one curriculum checkups, and I said, well, for example, if this parent had their first child had you for a teacher, and now their next child has you for a teacher, the whole thing's different. Everything's not how I remembered, not doing that project anymore, I should be doing this, aren't you? And then what it does is causes a communication gap between the parents and the kids, and we don't want that. So teachers have to practice, obviously, due diligence in educating parents how this new curriculum better serves what we know about brain science and how children read. So with these growing pains, I've included, let's see, I think it is, I'm just going to read this one sentence to you. Parents are already recognizing, which is what you said, differences in student homework procedures, the kinds and frequency of learning tasks being graded, and a change in the general discussion with their children of what reading lessons are like this year. So we just have to continue staying out in front of it. And if we haven't, if parents have questions and concerns, the midterm is going to be one of those litmus test where we realize where we have, where we can amp up our parent communication. We're preparing to do that on e-learning day at parent conferences. Weekly newsletters. I've been talking with principals about how principals can include that in communication to parents and how we can advise teachers, tell them, make sure they know this. Whereas last year, if you never did need to explain how you grade them on this standard, now you do. And whereas you didn't need to explain a lot of things, like you just assume, now, and they know our procedures. Well, now it's different, because a lot of the instructional strategies are different. So that's where we are, and I don't have all the answers for the perfect way to launch something so different from the routine, but it does break from why are we doing this, it's not how we've always done it, which we already know that Albert Einstein says that's the definition of insanity, just doing the same thing and expecting different results or improved results. And we know from our scores that our previous systems needed.
So it makes you wonder if this new system is truly measuring the ability of the students, whereas before, was it inflated?
Yeah.
And that's something we won't know until we get through at least a cycle of this, to kind of get a better grip of how we can compare this with the previous program.
And your point that you just made is a perennial issue in education. When we look at report card grades and everyone gets a trophy, and if you come to school and you smile and you just turn your things in, you get participation points, and then you take high stakes tests and phew, which you can't really effectively use iLearn as that measure this year either. So we've got that stress on our teachers and students and parents, creating another communication gap. So it's just a really important and critical time to just support teaching and good teaching, and just instead of assuming or jumping to the negative side, just to ask these good questions and to use these questions as clues where we need to amp up our communication so that we, maybe a parent night for EL, maybe a question and answer session, maybe I host that, maybe the school, there are lots of different ways to do that, and we are learning that as we go.
Your sentence here about parents already recognizing differences, one child and another child's. Are parents contacting teachers personally through email and things with concerns, or?
I've had a few parents contact teachers, and a few parents have contacted me, yes.
But if
I
they're-
couldn't give you a number.
No, but if they're having questions, that's communication, and patience is the big thing, because anytime someone changes anything, we all want to know,
Yeah.
what's that all about? You do have to wait a little bit to see how things are going, and stick with it and communicate.
Ben's in first grade at Van Dyne, and so I've communicated with his teacher quite a bit about what they did in kindergarten. Is it, is there going to be a gap, there that I need to assist him with at home, versus what this new curriculum is in first grade. And so we're kind of, trying to figure that out, and see if there's, if there are further things at home. So I'm kind of doing some guinea pig kind of type things with him in order for her to know, whether or not that might be of assistance to
And
her.
then when we started the program this year, I started my first newsletter with, we're trying a new reading program. It's going to be different from all of us, and we're all learning at the same time. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and that makes you vulnerable as a teacher, but it also shows that you're a learner as well. So hopefully that helps parents understand that as we go and as we continue to learn, then we will keep informing them. It's probably no secret to anyone in South Vermillion that I would say you're most highly trained on best practice in the science of reading. And I teach the science of reading at St. Mary's to education majors, but your person on this faculty and this staff, the most highly trained with current best practice in the science of reading is Cheryl Crockett. And she's very, yeah, I can't get her to tell you about it. I would have to prepare her because she doubts herself too much. But what I will tell you, as I embarrass her right now, and her face turns the color of our hair, is that every time I have called her, what do we do about this, and what have we learned about this, and I'm studying this, have you seen this? Her knowledge about the science of reading and how readers learn to read, especially the very, very young ones in K2, where we know if we don't address those needs right there, then you make a hole in their learning path and it only grows. It's like an Indiana pothole. If you don't address it, it ain't gonna get smaller. And she keeps throwing research at me that I'm just like, whoa, okay. And she's like, but I was thinking about this again at 11:30 at night, and I know you didn't ask this, but also what we know about the brain development. I was like, what is this science you're telling me? So at some point, I'm gonna put that person on stage, and she says, I'm telling you what, I've been obsessed with teaching myself about the EL. The pillars, the hallmarks of this program. And she said, it is every single thing we know and have learned about how little people learn to read, and it fully explains everything we've been getting wrong all these years. So, I mean, I know I didn't answer any questions, I just kind of put a teaser out there that she is going to
Well,
contribute.
I don't even teach it, but I was on
And
the
that's why she
committee
won't
to-
speak about it.
And I think I'm a little concerned because I was on the committee that helped select this program, but yet teachers are frustrated with it and parents are frustrated in the whole thing. And I feel a little bit of, concern about that because we selected it because it included a lot of the things that principals wanted to see in the classrooms. They wanted to see collaboration, they wanted to see student engagement, they wanted to see more phonics taking part. They wanted to see, we have apathy in our students, and this includes, the students not caring, not trying hard. You have to try hard in this program. Character ed. I mean, everything that the students of today that we seem to need, it's in this program. And so it's a total upside down program than what we've ever taught before.
So it seems to me that part of the real issue here, or not just the real issue, but another issue is that scaffolding then for, this is the way as a student I've always learned, this is the way the teachers
Yes.
approach me.
Yeah.
And now I have to hear, you gotta scaffold me to get there.
There's a lot of listening comprehension plus reading comprehension. There's a lot of vocabulary, like topic vocabulary, academic vocabulary. There's a lot. There's a lot of writing, whereas before there were fill in the blanks. You fill in the blank on a paper, you circle the nouns, you circle the verbs, you do all those little simple things. Now you're putting your thoughts down. You are collaborating and discussing, you are researching, and you're putting your thoughts on papers. And that's starting in kindergarten.
See,
So
don't
it's
you
a
think I need
huge-
to have her talk more about
See,
that?
yeah, and you told me I was nervous about it. No, they don't want to hear me say everything I say. No, but honestly, I have high hopes for it, but I do know there's some problems too. But I looked at the Indiana standards, and every Indiana standard, except there's some grammar issues. I just looked at them last night, by the way.
See?
Wanted to email you, but I didn't.
See, because it was
But
after 11.
all the things that's in this program are in our Indiana standards, and they're written that match the verbs that's used in the Indiana standards. So I have high hopes, but we'll see.
Patience.
And I
Yes,
think
just
one of the key factors of this is that we are developing critical thinkers at an earlier age.
Yeah.
And that's,
Kids who didn't get this.
right, yeah.
But you know, we've always said, at some point, concentration needs to be K3, K4. And a lot of these things that you now see in the 8th and 9th and 10th grade, will, if we're consistent about that, we don't change our plan, we work our plan.
Yeah.
I have high hopes for it, and I love the part about beginning with the end in mind. Right like that. I mean, I can sense that. Remember, you're our Walter Cronkite, Trust Walter. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. That's very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep charging.
Sorry about the technology.
That's all right.
We'll blame Fossey.
Great.
I think we're starting to see a trend with the technology over here.
Yeah.
Well, we got the right line and the right password, and it just didn't go. I don't know. Who knows? We turned it off.
All right, moving on. Brings us to our decisions, part of our agenda. First item, Mr. Chapman.
Members of the board, we have replaced a butcher block at Central Elementary in the kitchen and have an old one and somebody who is interested in buying it. Our recommendation for you this evening is to declare this old butcher block as a surplus item and to sell it to the interested party, with the proceeds going directly to the school corporation school lunch fund. We ask your approval of this highly sought after butcher block this evening.
So moved.
Shop teacher wanted to build some of that stuff, he looked at it.
I hadn't thought about that one yet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to declare the butcher block table at Central Elementary Kitchen as surplus. All in favor of such motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Mr. Chapman.
Members of the board, your approval tonight of an out-of-district elementary transfer student is in your packet this evening. Both principals have reviewed and approved the transfer request and await your approval this evening.
Discussion. Chair will entertain a motion.
So,
Kelly? Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the building level out-of-district transfer request for the 2019-2020 school year. All in favor of such motion signify by stating aye.
aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item C, Mr. Chapman.
Members of the board, in your packet this evening, you have 3 field trip requests that need your approval based on school board policy. Please note that I will be discussing at our upcoming admin meeting the field trip request process with our admin team, so that in the future there is assurance that appropriate time is provided for approval process, so that we don't have trips that will not be taken prior to the approval, as is noted in one of them here this evening. By doing this, we want to eliminate any potential liability issue or concern. With that, we ask your approval of the field trips this evening.
Any discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second to approve the presented 3 field trips. All in favor of such motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item D, Mr. Chapman.
Members of the board, in your packet this evening, you have donations received by South Vermillion Middle School, South Vermillion High School, and Van Dyne Elementary School. These donations range from individuals to business and corporate partners, including donations for South Vermillion Middle School from Dalton and Mandy Hinkle, Ed and Joni Kenizer, and Pepsi Refreshment Services. Also from South Vermillion High School, Western Indiana Community Foundation, Paxton's Custom Meats, RT Insurance, Clinton Optimist, George Smith, JTK and MEK, and First Financial Bank. Also from Van Dyne Elementary, you have a donation from Clinton Township trustees, and we ask your approval of these donations for the month of September this evening.
Discussion.
Is the South Vermillion donation, is that for the football,
South Vermillion, which one?
the high school?
There is one,
Was it for a specific item
which one?
at the high school, the 15,000?
Oh, those are
Oh, total.
combined total, yes.
Right.
The reason why it's so big is because First Financial Bank is donating a new scoreboard for the football
The
field.
scoreboard?
Yes.
That's what I was getting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
have a second, excuse me, we have a motion and a second to approve the donations as presented. All in favor, such motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Well, I'm a little confused here.
We have the addendum item.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Should be
I see that as number 7. Okay. And we have item A, second call for citizens, so, okay, we'll just go with the decision item first. All right, Mr. Chapman.
Okay. This is the other addendum to the agenda. There's a recommendation to revise the classified employee handbook as it relates to the nursing and health services wages. Members of the board, with the recent vacancies in our school health services, we felt it was imperative that we look at upgrade and improve our area of nursing and health services for all our students. With that, we've made the effort to provide LPNs and RNs for the vacant positions. And to do that, we needed to amend our classified employee handbook to meet this need, as there was no line item other than for substitutes for LPNs and RNs for our school nursing positions. As a result, I'm requesting that the board approve a recommendation to add wage items for RNs and LPNs at the hourly rate of $25 for RNs and $20 for LPNs per hour respectively. Also, I'd like to recommend that the school corporation nurse who must hold an RN with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing be established at an annual salary of $38,850. This is a slight increase in the current rate, but there will be added responsibilities as we move forward. I've already discussed those with Hannah a little bit. With regard to the current health assistants we have at Central Elementary and the high school, we are very pleased with their work, and we will review their wage issue along with all other employee groups under the classified employee handbook when we do their annual review. I'm pleased to make this recommendation to you this evening, and would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Discussion. Chair, entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to revise the classified employee handbook as it relates to nursing / healthcare services wages. All in favor of such motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. This brings us to our second call for citizens' comments. Here again, if you'd like to chat, please stand, state your name and your subject matter. Going once? Twice? Gone. Thank you. Mr. Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. West. I am very pleased to bring aboard our new nurses and look forward to working with them as we begin this new venture. They bring a great deal of experience and knowledge to the school corporation as it relates to the health and well-being of all of our students. As many of you know, the medical needs of our students continues to grow, and we want to make sure that we are on the front edge of their support services, and bringing Hannah on board and the others will greatly help that effort. So thank you for your support. Thank you, Hannah, for being here this evening, and we really look forward to working with you and the other nurses. Might also note that this week we begin our annual tradition of negotiations with the SVA. As you know, the collective bargaining process has changed once again, as we have some new twists in the process. We dealt with part of it last week with the public hearing with regard to collective bargaining, and we'll be working through that and other little twists and turns that come about as we continue to support our teachers, and we look forward to a great opportunity to work with them. So that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Mrs. Hill?
I'm gonna echo Mr. Chapman. Hannah, welcome aboard. I'm excited that we're taking this step. I think it's something we really need to really address the medical issues with our students, so. Dr. Beaver, thank you for your update. It's always appreciated. We've covered a lot, so I don't really have anything else to add.
Thank you. Dr. Hoffman?
I'm happy that we're upgrading to health services. I'm very happy that you've taken the job and taken that on, so. And the other moves with health services, I'm very pleased to see that. And then I think, the curriculum report, I mean, when you sit here, you always kind of thinking like, okay, in 2021, can someone tell us how we're doing compared to what we were doing in 2019, and how are the kids doing, how the teachers handling curriculum and things like that. And I'm very pleased to see you working at that, and patience is a big thing we need to do here. So I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to learn some of the details of it too, I really am. And then I just want to, I read through the budget semi-carefully, and it's a complicated task, but I was just looking to notice that we're building a 2020 budget on actually 2014 assess valuation. So when you look back and see, you know, what assess evaluation, we're building budgets on assess evaluation for 2020, and we're building it on basically the assess evaluation in the area of 6 or 7 years ago. So, you know, it brings more into focus how you need to plan and keep things moving in the right direction, knowing that that doesn't even add to drag the tax caps. So, applaud you for all that. And just thank you all for the work you do.
Mrs. Dahl?
Thank you, Hannah, for joining the South Vermillion staff. Look forward to hearing from you. Dr. Beaver, you're not only informative, you are entertaining. Always so fun to hear your report. And one other thing, eLibby. You want to talk a little bit about eLibby, the library? Do you know about that? The eLibby program? Dr. Shute?
I know about that much.
Oh, okay. Well, it's very, I'm really excited about it. We all got, I don't know how, if all the parents got emails about that, but how exciting. They're doing some, you didn't, so it's like a coordination with the Clinton Library and putting all the print material digitally, and the kids can get comic books and things really easily with their eLibby card. So I'm really excited about that.
It's been a work in progress for quite some time, and
It's not on, it's 6 through 12.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we just
Sorry,
added, we just
Kelly.
did the 6
I mean,
this year, because the 7th, 8th graders got it last year.
Okay, that's why I'm just learning about it, but it's cool. So you get that to look forward to. That's it.
Mrs. Corrado?
Well, welcome again. And this is something that we've, talked about and tried to do for a long time. So I'm really appreciate everything that the board has done and superintendent to make this happen. So, and I as well enjoy listening to the updates, and you make where I can understand it too. So.
That's right.
That's it.
Thank you. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you.
We're tickled to have you, and I think you're going to take this corporation to new heights that this board is excited to see happen. Dr. Beaver, how much time do you spend training him? He does really good stand-up comedy when you're speaking. So I don't know. I'd say
He's a
with
straight guy.
yeah, he's
Yeah, I'm
a straight guy. He's a straight guy. But I want to echo what Jerry said. Thank all of you for, just because we don't look you in the eye or give you a big thumbs up, we know you're all doing a fantastic job out there. So thanks for all you do. It's pretty important, very important.
Mr. West, if I might,
Yes, sir.
next regular board meeting will be Tuesday,
Yeah, 22nd.
October 22nd. It's a change from Monday.
Correct.
Please make that note.
Correct. Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Got a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. We're adjourned. Thank you.